All right, guys, what's up? And welcome to the Adventures of Alcaraz podcast. I am Julian Alcaraz.
And I am Miranda Alcaraz. And on this episode, we're going to recap our recent trip to Mexico, but also share some of the next steps for the Alcaraz family and what we have coming up. So some big news in this episode. Hope you enjoy.
What episode is this? Are we
no
keeping
idea.
track? Whatever.
I don't know how many episodes we've done of this one.
Episode... I don't know. Next episode.
Like 7?
Sure.
8? Something like that.
Sure. We just got back from our awesome trip. It was well deserved. We got to do a lot of nothing, which sometimes those are the best vacations.
Yeah, we went to Cabo, and we realized that we hadn't been on a vacation for almost 3 years. And really, we never have gone anywhere, just the two of us, since we've been married.
Yeah.
We had only known each other for like a year total. The last time we went on a vacation, just the two of us. That was before we moved in together, before I found out that I was pregnant with Knox, before street parking. It was kind of like where street parking was thought up or like finalized a little bit in our minds.
Why did we go to Cabo?
Well, we went to Cabo because I was in the float tank, and I was like trying to how does he want me to answer this? A couple weeks ago, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, I was in the float tank. Have you guys heard of these float tanks? They're like whenever they say it's 1,000 pounds of salt in there, really? I feel like that's an exaggeration. But anyways, it's like very thick salt water. Yeah. So much so that you float in it, and they turn all the lights off, and you just like float, and the water's your body's exact temperature, and it's supposed to like really clear your mind and everything. So I came out of the float tank and was like, you know what? I'm booking us a trip to go to Mexico. We need to go and get away. There's nothing going on this, the week that I chose that I wanted to go. And like a week later, we left. We went, just the two of us.
I knew those float tanks were going to be a great investment.
That was an expensive float tank session.
It was, but I feel like there was more gained out of this trip than lost, to be honest.
Yeah, and your first question was like, is Knox going to come with us? And I was like, well, no, because any parent knows that as much as it's magical to take your child on vacation with you, it's immediately a vacation for your child and not for you. And what I felt like we needed was some really relaxation and just time for me and you to be together with just me and you. So
I always ask that question because it's better to ask than to assume. Because if I were to assume that we weren't going to take him and then we were going to take him, then I would have been like,
yeah, of course.
Wah. But it was great. It was a great setup.
Yeah, it was really nice. And we stayed at a really nice place, but for sure the nicest place I've ever stayed.
100% for apps. I mean, come on. Did you see my upbringing?
It was called the Pedregal. Am I saying that right?
Pedregal.
But yeah, I said it correctly.
You said it right.
Okay.
You did, yes.
They're in Cabo, and we had a nice room that actually got upgraded to an even nicer room. So we enjoyed it very much. We didn't even leave our room that much because it had its own little infinity pool in there.
And it was really nice. It was a very spacious room. It was sectioned off, very open space. And it was really nice. It had real top floor, so we had to overlook the whole resort, and on top of that, the beach and everything. So
we left on a Monday and came back on Friday, so we had 3 full days, and I felt like that was the perfect amount of time because travel days are exhausting. You almost need a day to recover from a travel day, or at least a good night's sleep, and then you don't want to be turning around 2 days later to come back. So I thought that was a perfect amount of time.
Yeah, if possible, obviously travel early so you get there at a good time so you can wind down that day, and on the travel trip back, do something a little bit later so that way you can sleep in and not feel so rushed, and then let it ruin your relaxing vibe as you exit the vacation. So that was good.
I was telling you on the vacation that I'm such an anxious person that I get anxiety about how much time there is left on the vacation that I haven't relaxed enough.
I know, you did tell me that. It was really funny, actually.
I'll be like, it's Tuesday, we have to leave on Friday. I've already wasted a day. I haven't relaxed enough yet. And then I get anxious about that I'm not relaxing enough.
We had very interesting ways of relaxing on this trip.
Yeah, because you went full hardcore into your audiobooks, which weren't stories. They were educational audiobooks, and you were taking notes and stuff like that. And I went the complete opposite of how I am at home. and was like, I was like brain dead basically.
It was pretty cool. It was very interesting actually, but it was a good experience. The food was really good. Dinners were great. We had a spa day, which was very nice actually.
Yeah, that was really nice.
Like too nice to the point where you just like, they're like washing your feet like back in the Jesus times, and like with all these, like they're making you smell the herbs and everything.
It was really,
like,
that was a little over the top. That was a little.
You're like, what? I'm like massaging your feet with salt.
It was the basil. Was it basil?
Basil and salt, and they're smacking your body with like basil leaves, and you're just like, stop! Like you just almost like felt so bad. You're like, stop treating me with this kind of luxury right now.
Yeah,
like,
it was
chill.
a little too much, and there was like 5 other people in there too.
It's
just
awkward.
like, yeah.
What kind of council is this? But anyway, that was that experience. We
had some really good food.
We had really good food, good ceviche. We had a couple glasses of wine, which was. That was nice. Like, that's it. Like, it was never overdoing it.
No, we don't. We're not big drinkers in this family.
So that was a big money saver. Great.
Exactly.
And then we had one night where there was like the whole really nice restaurant of the resort where it's like a whole experience, and you get to see your fish, and it like winks at you, and then they take it, and then they prep it. So that was cool.
That was a little too fancy for us. We're not fancy enough to. I feel like a lot of those restaurants that are like that, they the people like them because they feel like they know that other people don't go to places like that. It's like a status thing more than it is like a tasty food thing at that point.
Let me tell you something. Like, because I owned a meal prep restaurant, I know where that fish came from. So I know, like, you ain't fooling me. Like, I know what you guys are trying to do. Like, you bought this glass case at freaking the Mercado outside of the resort, and like this fish cost you like $1.
It was a really nice restaurant.
But it was, yeah, for sure.
It was cool.
It
was a beautiful setting, that's for sure.
Beautiful setting. It was relaxing. We left the resort one day to go have some tacos at this place that wasn't far. It was like a mile walk.
It was so hot, though.
It was so hot, but the tacos were great.
Mm-hmm. And we went and knocked some little sandals and your mom some sandals, and then we just bounced back.
Yeah, and it was perfect.
Yeah, we didn't spend too much time in the city.
So we got back, and that was our vacation, just to kind of summarize it a little bit. But coming back, we also had another great surprise. I'll let you kind of talk about that.
So when we got back, we found out that I'm pregnant. Literally last night. We got back last night. And I wanted to take a pregnancy test before we went, but it was a little early to do that. And you talked me out of it. And Molly agreed that that was also a good idea. So went and just enjoyed our trip and came back. And last night I was like, all right, we're back. I'm going to go get a test. And I had not been feeling the best on the last few days of the trip. So today officially, and we'll probably wait to put this podcast out, to be honest, a little bit. But today officially, as of this recording, it's August 17th, and I'm exactly 4 weeks pregnant right now. So it's like the earliest that you could possibly find out, because I'm a psycho and I measure all that stuff. And so I know when I can, take the tests and everything. But I wasn't feeling the greatest. I thought it was just because we were eating out so much. And then yesterday on the plane, I was like so hot.
Yeah, you were panicking.
And I was like, are you hot? And he was like, no. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so hot. And so a couple like little things, but because in January, I had the miscarriage, which was actually even less pregnant than I am now, because I didn't even know that I was pregnant then. Yeah. I tried not to I have since then, because we've been trying since then, I have tried not to read into it too much. Every time I have like a feeling, I'm like, oh yeah, for sure I'm pregnant. And then my period would always start. So this time I was like, no, you're probably just feeling a little woozy because you're eating different foods, or no, you're just like not on your normal schedule or whatever. No, it's probably just really hot on this airplane and you're in the middle seat. So I didn't really latch on to that stuff. But yeah, we've taken 3 tests since then, and they've all been like very clearly positive.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, I think that's a moment engraved forever, is like your reaction coming out of the bathroom.
What did I do?
You were just like,
baby.
Yeah, it was pretty nice. It was cool to say. I knew at that point, like, you didn't have to say anything else. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, this is what we've been looking for.
Yeah, so this is baby number 2 for us.
Yes.
And technically.
And I wasn't cleaning.
You were eating this time.
I was eating this time.
And what did you think?
I mean, for me, it was just like being excited to seeing, like, because I know everything that you've had to emotionally go through since the miscarriage to now. So I was very happy that result came. I think for me, which we'll talk a little bit later, was like when it was time to go to sleep.
Oh, yeah.
And like all of a sudden I couldn't go to sleep. But I was really happy to see that. And just seeing, again, I really don't think it processes you. I'm mostly excited to see you and how happy you were for it.
It's probably the same for you, but it's like it's different for me this time in many ways. Well, first of all, the first time you get pregnant, like, it was not on purpose. So it was just a complete surprise. Mm-hmm. So it's like someone kind of delivering like a gift, I guess, but not something that you were expecting or waiting for or anything. So you're kind of like, wait, what is it? Like, I don't know how to feel about this. And, but also you don't know what to expect. You don't know what it's like to be pregnant. You don't know what it's like to give birth to a child. You don't know how amazing, but also really difficult it is to be a parent. So it's hard to like be excited with any sort of like realism about it, or be nervous with any sort of like realism about it. It's just more like fear of the unknown at that point when when it's the first time. But this time, like, I've been like all over the place with it. Obviously I was really excited to see that, but then because of what happened in January, it's like, oh, well, don't get too attached. And I think that's something that's really wrong and not great in our society, is that women tend to keep pregnancies a complete secret. Like, yeah, we'll probably wait to put this podcast out, but a little bit, but they'll even keep it a secret from their like closest family and friends until like 12 weeks, like 3 full months into it, because they'll say like, oh, well, you could have a miscarriage, and so don't share it and don't be excited and don't get attached. Like, that's a third of the time that this baby's growing inside my body. I'm supposed to just kind of ignore the fact that it's there and not get attached to it and not tell anyone about it. And I think that's really bad.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's hard, right? Because you don't want to get like devastated if something happens. Miscarriages are very, very common, which is another thing that's not talked about, because nobody tells you that they're pregnant. So how would you know that they had a miscarriage, right? So that's been like kind of hard. And then obviously, like, we immediately start thinking about our lives and how another one is going to change our lives. And then I immediately start thinking about like, oh man, like that I can't just hammer the nitro coffees all day anymore. And what about my Pokey? And what about, all this and that? And I've been a little bit more nauseous this time than I remember being the last time. And I'm only at 4 weeks, and I know it gets worse as you go for the first little bit. And so we start thinking about our business and how it's going to affect all of that, because when I was pregnant before, it was just me and you.
Yeah, I was.
So I've been kind of all over the place with it, to be honest.
I think for me, it really hit like when we were trying to go to bed, because finally everything was kind of like sinking in, because we still had our like whole routine that the dog's out, dogs in, dogs were being annoying, And yeah, once it got quiet and I was processing it more again, because you took a second pregnancy test and it just like really confirmed everything. And then I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, for me at that point, I was like, I felt more nervous this time than when you told me you were pregnant the first time, which is so weird, because now we're like 2 years in of having Knox, and I mean, I feel so confident. I feel so like great about being a father, and now this time around I'm like nervous and scared. I'm like, I don't even know how to. But I know.
Well, your first reaction was like, you need a bigger car.
Yeah, I was like, you need a bigger car.
I was like, okay, let's just. Not now.
But I know.
It's like such a dad thing to say.
Yeah. And then starting to think of like, okay, like, will it be a boy? Will it be a girl? If it's a boy, then it's just like, all right, like it's something that I'm really comfortable with. If it's a girl, I'm like terrified, because I don't know. I never had a sister. All I know is I don't know anything actually. So about having a girl.
I feel like you're really good with
Yeah, I mean, it'll definitely be an eye-opener for sure, but all those things, and just, again, you start thinking of how no sleep, well, because all we know is how much Knox didn't sleep, so, oh my gosh, are we going to go back to that again? And there's just so many things that go through your head with two.
Yeah, and like, so I did end up telling a couple people last night, because I couldn't, first of all, I don't think it's good for, if something were to happen, I don't think it's good for the moms to suffer like alone. And it's not something that a dad could understand.
No.
If something were to happen. So I did share it with some friends of mine that have kids. Molly. Carolina doesn't have a child yet, but she's about to.
Yes.
And she's like Mother Earth. So she's like one with the earth. And so I felt like she needed to know. Yeah. And then Kim, that works for us, I told all three of them on a group text. I also told one of my other best friends, Jen. I mean, she married us. She's been around for so long. And I told my sister, which when my mom hears this, she's going to be really upset that I told my sister and not her.
Yeah.
But I don't want my mom to get too attached to it. So I feel like I am protecting my mom from that a little bit too. And we're going to see my mom in a month, so we can tell her and my dad. Yeah, we'll tell her
that'll be another little Hawaii gift. I told my mom. That's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, because your mom sees us every day. She needs to know.
Exactly.
And let's be honest, your mom's going to be cooking us some tasty food now. She's going to be all about it.
Yeah, she's really pumped, for sure.
She always cooks us tasty food, but it'll be like a whole different level. Another kind of like emotional experience that I had this morning was I was listening to a podcast, because I have this like parenting podcast that I try to listen to at least a couple episodes a week. Usually I'll listen to it when I'm like getting ready for the day. And it's called Unruffled by Janet Lansbury, if you guys are looking for it. But the episode was how to introduce the idea of a new sibling to your current your toddler. Just kind of like in my heart, this isn't something I've really thought about too much, because I haven't, when I had my miscarriage, I didn't know I was pregnant long enough to even like think about this. So in my heart, what I feel is right, and it's not because of anything I've read or experiences that I've had, is that as a family, to be super close, you just share everything with each other, highs and lows, right? So my inclination is to tell Knox about the baby, and then if something were to happen, to tell him that, and to bring him to the doctor's appointments, honestly, and show him the heartbeat and show him the little baby so that he can understand what's going on. So on this podcast, she was talking about how she also thinks that that's give the child all the information that you have. So the information that we have right now is that it looks like you could have a little brother or sister, and start asking them how they feel about that, and asking them like, Knox is only 2. He's not really going to get it. He might get it a little bit more when Jeb and Carolina show up with their baby and see like, oh man, like I remember Carolina's belly being big, and now here's this baby, because he's seen her a couple times,
Yeah.
But then I had like a really emotional like thought, because in the podcast she was saying how once the second baby is born, and she was talking about how this happened in her own life, the relationship that you have with your first child is never the same ever again. Right now, Knox is our entire world. He owns all of our attention when we're at home, and not just mine, but mine and yours and your mom's and the staff and everyone. He's the only child, and he feels special, and you can tell he feels so loved and so special, and really enjoys the attention. And to know that there's going to be times where his feelings are hurt because I'm taking care of the other baby, or to know that, he just can't get all the attention anymore. Like I got like pretty emotional about that, because it really does. It changes that relationship forever. And I kind of told you about it too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just going to be one of those things where we're going to learn as we go.
Yeah.
And then there's probably going to be a bunch of thoughts that run through our head. And the best thing to do is try to, just to focus on where we're at now.
Yeah. So I think my plan is, to do a weekly, because pregnant women are crazy. There's like these milestones every single week, right? Like it's like week 1, your baby's the size of a whatever, and I mean, I have it already. I already pulled up my.
We can just put you like on a green screen, and we can have like Jaime and Nelson do like stats.
I already pulled up my old app that I had for Knox, and so how big is they do the like little chalkboard signs. So right now the baby is as big as a poppy seed, and it's just a ball of cells basically at this point. And it's getting comfy in there, and everything's happening. So I wanted to do, because pregnant people, there is nothing more comforting than finding other pregnant people when you're pregnant. Like, people search for it so much. And last time, because we were in like a weird situation and we didn't have as many staff and it was a surprise, we documented it, but not like very well. Much, yeah. So my plan is to do a little podcast episode once a week to kind of check in, and we won't be able to have the full 40 weeks since I'm already 4 weeks, but we'll have 36 weeks of how it's going for me, and the good and the hard and the big boobs and bellies and
all
butts.
Of it.
My butt got really big last time.
Yeah, it'll be definitely my venting sessions in this room. Like, oh my gosh.
Should we do it? Sounds like we need to do a separate. Hide the lacrosse balls, everybody. She's pregnant.
We could. Yeah.
So
I feel like we're in a better situation this time around, to be honest.
Definitely.
I really do. I think we learned a lot from the first one with the very little assistance. But I feel a lot better as far as the business being taken care of. And then just you being you enjoying this process a lot more for many reasons. So I'm really excited to see you go through this. And I'm excited to take care of you again during this whole process.
Yeah.
But we're going to wrap that up for this episode here. We just wanted to kind of do the announcement here first. And then we'll do the follow-ups week by week. So,
okay.
Take care, guys.